Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here covering new PC releases for this week of August the 12th to the 18th. You know, as we start to work our way towards the end of summer and into the beginning of fall, these new releases are going to start picking up, so these videos will be getting longer and longer, or at least filled with a lot more content. We've got a ton of new releases to talk about this week, so let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting with Monday, August the 12th. First up, we have got Hammerwatch. This is a pixelated hack-and-slash action-adventure game, which you've been seeing in the background, where you and a group of friends dive into a dungeon with gauntlet style of gameplay. Now, the game features 4 different classes, all with unique abilities and attacks, multiple difficulties with modifiers where you can make things harder or easier, and then there's also mod support for level creation. So I took a look at this video earlier in the week with a checkout, showing off some gameplay. I have to be honest, I really was a little underwhelmed. That could primarily be due to the fact, though, that I played the game by myself, and this does look to be a co-op focused game, but simply the pacing of the gameplay and the relative simplicity of it wasn't all that engaging for me, but it is a smaller title at only $9.99, and so if it's something that you think you would be interested in, I could see this being potentially fun with a group of friends. Next up, moving on to Tuesday, August the 13th. Ton of new games coming out today, starting off with Payday 2, which is the sequel to Payday the Heist. This game expands upon the original with new skill trees, items, and also multi-part heist, making for more of an open-ended gameplay. There's 30 new missions in the game, and they're much more dynamic. They're basically just less linear experiences. There's more variation in terms of what can take place in a heist. You know, there's a lot of excitement behind this sequel to the original Payday, and as much as people are looking forward to it, I don't know if I'm going to cover the game just for the sake of time, and because I think there's going to be a lot of coverage on a ton of other channels anyway, but you can pick that up today for $29.99. Next up for today's releases, we've got Europa Universalis IV. This is the latest installment in the Paradox Interactive Grand Strategy series, Europa Universalis. Some of the new features include the Monarch Point system, which allows you to specialize in military, diplomacy, and administration. There's also a new trading system, a streamlined economy, improved combat, and a new diplomacy system. So tons of improvements here on this next installment in Europa Universalis. This game is available to you for $39.99. Next up, we've got actually a reboot of a classic game. This is going to be DuckTails Remastered. It's a 2.5D hand-drawn recreation of the original NES game. So visually, it does look a little bit different, but they're obviously trying to adhere to the original game. This is available for $14.99, and you know, it's just DuckTails. Hey man, we can't go wrong with that. The classic NES game reimagined. And last up for new releases today, we've got some DLC for Dishonored. This is the Brigmore Witches DLC. It continues the story of Dowd that began in the Knife of Dunwall DLC. So that's when you played sort of the enemy that you played through in the original game of Dishonored. Oh, that story took place in the Knife of Dunwall, and then this DLC is going to continue that story. It's going to include some new powers, weapons, and gadgets, and also introduces some new areas into Dunwall, available for $9.99. Moving on to Thursday, August the 15th, we are seeing the release of Space Hulk. This is a turn-based strategy game set in the Warhammer 40k universe. It is actually an adaptation of the Games Workshop board game Space Hulk. Now in it, you're going to be playing as a small squad of Space Marine Terminators who are attempting to reclaim their honor by mounting an assault on a Space Hulk that has been infested by Gene Stealers. The game has a single-player campaign as well as a cross-platform multiplayer, allowing you to play with opponents on the PC, Mac, and iOS devices. That cross-platform multiplayer is asynchronous, so it is important to keep that in mind. But yeah, it's going to be a turn-based strategy game set in the Warhammer 40k universe. I don't have the best impression so far, simply because the review codes for this game are actually coming in on launch day, apparently, and a lot of times that means that, you know, they don't have that much confidence in the game. Now, it's not necessarily the case. It could just be that this is when the codes are available, but typically review codes come out at least a week before launch, if not closer to 2 to 3 weeks before launch. And the fact that these ones are taking so long, I'm really not sure what that means, but we'll find out, I guess, when the game releases. I'll let you guys know what I think. And then on Thursday, we're seeing Gone Home. This is an interesting title. It's a first-person exploration game in which you will be roaming the halls of a large house, attempting to solve the mystery of what happened to your family. It's a very, very simple exploration game. There is no combat and little in the way of puzzle solving. It's more about the exploration and trying to put the pieces of the story together. Now, the story itself, it's set in 1995. You play as a young woman named Caitlin, who is visiting her family after living overseas for a year. And when you get to the house, you find out that there's nobody there, and there's also a cryptic note attached to the door. I've heard good things about this game from Northern Lion, and I trust his opinion when it comes to indie games especially, so I will be taking a look at this, and I am quite excited for it. Not a traditional game in the gameplay sense, but it could be a good story nonetheless. And then finally, for new releases this week, on Friday, August the 16th, we will be seeing Worms Clan Wars, a PC-exclusive Worms game that is supposed to be the biggest Worms game to date, in featuring more worms, larger landscapes, and more dynamic water, more weapons, and more customization. They're basically trying to take advantage of the fact that this is a PC-exclusive title and trying to give us more of everything, higher fidelity, all sorts of fun stuff like that. The game has a single-player campaign as well as the multiplayer feature of clan support, which will allow for competitive team games. It's a Worms game with more features exclusive to the PC. And that is going to do it for new releases for this week. Let's go ahead and wrap things up with my planned content. So as of this recording, I've already done a video for Hammerwatch. I also did a video for the alpha build of Sir, You Are Being Hunted. As I mentioned earlier, Hammerwatch didn't leave me with the greatest impression, though it could be fun with multiplayer. Playing by myself, I don't know, it just got a little old pretty quick. Sir, You Are Being Hunted, a game that, even though it's in its alpha, is quite exciting. It's set in a British landscape. It's sort of Stalker-esque in that you're scavenging for resources, trying to avoid detection and complete objectives. Specifically in this game, you're finding these artifacts and trying to bring them back to like a home base area. That was a lot of fun, though. I'm actually looking forward to continuing to play that game. So beyond what I've already covered here, my plans for coverage are Space Hulk and Gone Home for the new releases, and then also we've got some embargoes lifting this week. The embargo on Saints Row 4 as well as Deadfall Adventures will be lifting tomorrow. Now, Saints Row 4, obviously you know what that is. It's the next installment in the Saints Row series, then open world, hilarious take on GTA. And then Deadfall Adventures is actually an FPS adventure game coming from Nordic Games. It releases in late September, but the embargo lifts tomorrow as well. So I'm going to be covering both those games tomorrow. Saints Row 4, I can't wait to show you guys coverage. Don't know anything about Deadfall Adventures yet because I haven't tried it, but I will be giving that a look, and again, coverage will be coming up. And then potentially I've got some games that I also have early access to, which include Legends of Aetherius and Arklash Legacy, and I might be taking a look at those if I have the time this week. And then, of course, the standard Friday Night Magic Force plays, which we're doing Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning right now, and then the Force feed Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, let me just say this again, as I mentioned at the top of the video, this time of year, as we work our way towards the end of summer and into the holiday season, the fall and Christmas season, of course, things get crazy. There's a lot of games coming out, and I only have so much time. I am a single man. So we've got a bunch of new releases this week that I'm not taking a look at. I'm sure some of you would have liked me to look at, say, a game like Payday 2 and Europa Universalis. But I'm trying to cover games that A, I'm interested in, and B, I think might not get as much coverage. So I know Saints Row 4 is going to get a ton of coverage, but I really am enjoying that game, and I want to cover it and play it for you. And beyond that, I know Gone Home is an indie game, and obviously you might say, hey, why don't you do Payday 2 and Europa Universalis instead of a game that's not really a game like Gone Home? Well, because I think that coverage you can get elsewhere, and I'm interested in this because it is unique and different. If I was super interested in Payday 2 or Europa Universalis 4, I would definitely cover it, but I'm not really all that interested in either one of those. And this is the sort of thing that you're going to expect to happen in the coming weeks. There's going to be several games, like 10 plus games coming out every single week, and I'm only going to be able to cover so many, so I kind of have to pick and choose based on my preferences and also what I think might not get coverage that I would like to cover. So there you go, that's that. I'll probably repeat that throughout the coming holiday season just because people are going to wonder, why aren't you covering this and why are you covering that? Well, there you go. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. And as always, keep watching and keep owning.